Well, speaking of Florida State, they're home in Tallahassee this week, 0-2 for Mike Norvell's squad. They're hosting a 2-0 Memphis team out of the American Conference, noon on Saturday on ESPN. Florida State just an 8-point favorite in this game.
Yeah. In this one, let me just first remind everybody of a crazy fun fact regarding this year's Seminoles and their infamous 0-2 start. I assume people who write on the Florida State beat have already delved into this. I would hope so, at least. But to me, it's the starting point to understand what has happened so far for Mike Norvell. There are 11 players, Chris, from last year's ACC champion Florida State roster that are currently on National Football League rosters. And 9 of those 11 are on the 53-man active roster, like the guys trotting out there as professional rookies on Sundays and otherwise. 9 of the 11 are on that roster, not the practice squad or any of the reserved lists. It is an insane number of NFL rookies from any single college team. Many in the ACC have 0 rookies on NFL rosters right now. The Seminoles have 11. It's also a reminder that it's really difficult to replace elite talents and highly productive players like a Jordan Travis at QB, Trey Benson at running back, Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson at wideout, Braden Fisk and Jared Verse on the defensive line, Tatum Bethune at linebacker, Renardo Green and Jerry Jones in the secondary. All of those guys helped the Seminoles get to 12-0 last year before that playoff disappointment. We won't go back there. All of them are on NFL rosters as we speak. Unless you're talking about the old Bobby Bowden era at Florida State or the Nick Saban era at Alabama, or maybe nowadays the Kirby Smart era at Georgia, there's usually going to be a step back or an adjustment period at the least when you send that many NFL caliber talents to the next level in a single year. There is, for perspective, there is an ACC program that has 11 total NFL players right now. That means that could be products from 20 years ago, 15 years ago, or last year's team. 11 total NFL players. FSU has that many NFL players just from last year's squad. That has to be felt at a grassroots level, and I think that's part of what's happening, at least in Tallahassee right now. Also, real quick, this game is interesting because Memphis is supposed to be one of the very best teams in the American Athletic Conference this year, and the Tigers have started the season 2-0, as you mentioned, and in convincing fashion. So it's not exactly a cupcake visiting Tallahassee on Saturday afternoon. Remember how nervous everybody got at Doak Campbell when that game got off to a rough start for the Seminoles? Well, surprisingly, after head coach Mike Norvell said he might have the best offensive line of his entire FSU tenure, he said that back in the preseason. As we saw against the Eagles, that group is not off to a good start, nor against Georgia Tech in the opener over in Ireland. And the defensive front at FSU hasn't been anything special so far either. That'll be the first place to look for improvement this week against Memphis. Again, a quality American Athletic Conference team. If the Seminoles don't improve in the trenches, that doesn't give DJ Uiagalelei, the quarterback, and the rest of the skill players the room and the breathing space that they need to strut their stuff. So if there's a face plan or anything close to it this week, we're going to hear a lot more about how FSU has had a mediocre football program for 5 straight years, 2017 through 2021, before breaking through with those top 10 teams these last 2 years. I don't think FSU will start 0-3, but if it happens, those will be the headlines, and those will be some of the reasons why.